Funding for Discovery Road, brought to you in part by the National Park Service.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Discovery Road. I'm James Nelson. In this episode, we'll find out how one bridge leads us to art, architecture, adventure, and transport. And we'll learn how it all comes together to give a community passion and an identity. Plus the amazing story of the Zion Park Tunnel. And we'll look back, way back, to the first official visitors to Zion National Park from a century ago. And it's all coming your way on a road trip you don't want to miss.
Throughout the year, lots of people course along the highway heading to Zion National Park in a rush to get there. But when the road crosses into Rockville, Utah, an unhurried pace takes over. The town pulls you in, and time seems to slow down.
People do slow down. I've heard other people say, how did you manage to get people to slow us down to Rockville 40 miles an hour? It's because the town looks different from everything else they've been zooming past. They slow down and take a look. There's stone gutters. There's houses without fences on them. There's people on sidewalks doing things. It looks like a community rather than a slice of America where everywhere else was just strip malls and commercial trade names and mass production everywhere that looks the same from one state to the next. This town has a character, and the character is basically small town Utah, and we've kept that.
Founded by pioneers in 1862, it's often listed as Utah's last treasure. The community vision statement calls for quiet rural values, and you see it everywhere. The town logo, a light bulb. And yes, light bulbs serve as street lights. But there's one more thing this heritage-loving place holds on to. Just off State Road 9, in the middle of town, down there, above the Virgin River, the special jewel, the Rockville Bridge.
And when we had our original town incorporation back in '87, they designated certain things that were valuable. The old telegraph house, the stone gutters that we have for the irrigation, and the bridge was a big one, because that was a part of the history that linked us to the park, and it also gave access to people here to the fields on the other side, rather than going through it. It was a full-time access to do agriculture.
Our first up-close look at the Rockville Bridge was enchanting. There it sits, a man-made contraption from nearly a century ago, surrounded by towering mountains from forever ago. In a strange way, it represents something permanent, a piece of history, while symbolizing the never-ending movement of people. Steel bands crisscrossing and lapping together, bolted down and fastened to brawny beams. A unique architectural style called Parker through Truss. It's the only one of its kind in Utah. Longtime resident Floyd Leon Lewis, well, he's crossed the bridge for many years in cars, trucks, even on horseback.
Oh, it kind of echoes and makes a little noise, and it's quite exciting. And some horses get a little nervous, and they don't want to be out there with the water flowing. And that's a place where most people gather when there's floods. We used to like to go over and see the height or depth of the flood, and check it out, and then the trees coming down, you check out the big trees.
The Rockville Bridge was built in 1924 under the direction of the National Park Service. It connected Zion National Park with other parks in Utah and Arizona, giving tourists more options and less backtracking. Eventually, the Zion Mount Carmel Tunnel would be built, rendering the bridge less important. It got old, rusty, beat up, worn out, and road weary. But the town, the few hundred residents in town, they decided to save the bridge. With grant applications, fundraisers, and events like this one, bringing in artists to paint and help the cause. Jody McGregor was one of the organizers.
I heard that there was a risk of losing it because it had lost its structural integrity and it was downgraded for the weight that it could bear. I was fully on board to save this bridge. It's the last of its kind in Utah.
Hey Ken, yeah, I got here early this morning and went out. We were in the Rockville Cemetery, and so that's looking back to Smithsonian.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Till you get up close to it, I think that's when when it gets a little nasty. But the wind was blowing so doggone hard, I didn't get all my fresh marks on it. So I'm going to go back tomorrow morning. The Rockville Bridge actually is off the beaten path, and a lot of people don't see the bridge. And so when you turn down that little sign, there's a street that has the sign that says Grafton, okay, what is this? And then all of a sudden, here's this beautiful structure that, again, through time and time, it's withstood, and now it's time to fix it and get it back into its working shape to allow thousands of people more to come through and celebrate that specific time that bridge gave so many, the footprint and the access to Zion National Park.
Scattered around the bridge, the artists set up their roadside studios and got busy.
My name is Brad Holt. I guess my title would be plein air painter or plein air artist. I'm one of the invited artists here for the Rockville show to raise money for the bridge improvements.
We found artist Bruce Gomez less than half a mile from the bridge, right where he wanted to be. Playing his music, working a wood tray of colorful chalk like a maestro, and squeezing the moment in the sun like a kid on a playground.
But I was asked to do this, and I jumped at the chance. To see all of this. Thomas Moran was this painter, and he would paint this kind of stuff, but he would exaggerate. And I'm seeing this for reals. And I got cows. It's pastoral. It's like these old German painters. They paint these cows and just drop them in, and they made no sense. But now I get to do it. I get to do anything I want. I think the bridge is amazing, and at a time when we're cutting funds all across this national budget, we all have to do something, and this is what I get to do. And I get to do this. I get to come here. I get to come here to do this. That's nuts, and it's great, but
And this bridge, again, this is brings us over to Grafton. And Grafton's been we've learned of the history of the people that tried to make a living here and kept being flooded out, I think, by the river. And finally, I think they left, but if it weren't for the bridge, we couldn't get over here. So that's another reason of restoring it.
Just across the road, we found Scott Bevan, a designer by trade who set his own dreams of painting aside for 30 years, but he finally crossed that bridge. His studio shows just how much he loves painting landscapes and scenery and rusty old trucks.
A fun old vehicle is an old rusty
tow truck. That's a side view, and then up here is the front view, which is kind of fun. Front end of a truck has a real personality to it, and that one's actually called FaceTime. Seeing the old memories that lie there and the stories that are to be told. So between just the beauty of the patina that's developed over the ages and the memories of bygone days, that just kind of captivates my attention.
Saving a time-worn bridge and the spirit of this remarkable place with their brushstrokes in the open air. The artists are all back in their own studios now, but their collective work and lots of other fundraising events and many volunteers help fix the bridge. And for Jody McGregor, well, she's keeping a promise she made to every doggone one of those people.
It's over. There's a tradition with the bridge that lovers that cross it should stop briefly and kiss before they finish crossing the bridge. Well, I made a pledge, and I told many people this, and I've kept that pledge, that every time I cross the bridge, I stop and I say a silent thank you to all those people who joined efforts to save this bridge. And I still do it. I can't help but do that. So many people came forward to save that bridge.
Put a little paint on your palette. Where in the world do you think you're gonna go? Ain't nobody pointing no directions. It's up to you to paint one for the show. Folks are sitting home and they're waiting, hoping and waiting just to see this piece of plein air magic that you're making. The one I'm sure they'll buy from you and me. Now don't you think they'd like the one from Utah? One with pretty mountains all around. Maybe one from Zion or Escalante. Spring City.
The empty window look of the bridge can fill up quickly with lots of visitors. They enter the historic steel frame rumbling and rattling across yesterday. And then, just like that, tomorrow looms ahead as they leave the bridge. Another car, this one with a dog passenger who smartly sniffs the Virgin River washing rocks below and seems to approve of the bridge. Then a bicyclist pedaling across the old-timer.
The history of the bridge is important to me because it helps tie in the experience of being outdoors, visiting a place. It gives a place a story and a meaning behind it all. So you hear people talking about it, you might read about it, and it helps you kind of grasp the essence of the town and what it's all about. And that's what I like about it.
People from everywhere, from all around the world, stop to take pictures when they see the bridge.
Why did you stop to take a picture of the bridge?
I stopped because I think it's very beautiful with these landscapes and the kind of bridge. Everything it's very Western, I think, so I stopped because of that. Because I love all the stories, so the place is perfect with Grafton. And when I arrived yesterday, during the night, I see the bridge and I think tomorrow I have to go take picture.
A sweet chorus of birds chirping on the bridge slowly fades under the approaching sounds of a heavy, rolling, jumbo-sized vehicle.
This old bridge built by steel. Wow. 100 years old. Wow. And it's heavy enough for us.
Hopefully.
Yeah. 90 years old. Hold on. Wow.
A behemoth tractor-sized vehicle carrying world travelers from Germany. They're fascinated by the bridge.
So when we crossed, it was really impressive because it's a very old bridge. It seems to be very narrow, and we knew about the Mormon tracks who came here hundreds of years ago, and so it was really interesting to cross that bridge where they came as pioneers.
I think it's very important to protect an old thing like a bridge or a road or a building. We've seen so many old things around the world. The United States is round about our country number 88. And we have seen so many old things who nobody care. But here in the United States, a lot of things are protected and preserved. And I think it's a good way to go.
Endless miles visiting many countries in a German-made vehicle.
We are traveling in this vehicle since 16 years now, and I think it's one of the best way to do with a four-wheel drive heavy-duty truck. We are full contained for around about 3 to 4 weeks. We carry 170 gallon fuel and 120 gallons of water, and it's enough for 3 to 4 weeks in the middle of nowhere. We touched 2 times the Arctic Ocean in North America without any problems, and I think it's a good way compared to a pickup camper or a standard RV.
What's it like to ride in it?
It's smooth, no problem. We call it German engineering.
Tomorrow we will go to the Temple of Sinawa, to the trail, and then come back and do all the points, take some pictures.
And then maybe on the back to Area 51 we can take the...
And outside, maps to tell their incredible road story.
Where have you been?
When we are on the road, I like to see different countries, to meet different people, different cultures. Especially 10 years ago when we crossed Russia. Russia is an unbelievable big country with so many different cultures. And also when we come to North America 3.5 years ago, the culture, the history, the people, all the places are so different, especially from the northern part to the southern part, from the west coast to the east coast. I love it.
Oh yes, we had to cross a lot of bridges, also in the sense like a connection to other people. So it's always like finding a relation to other people to get a connection to them. So sometimes it's a bridge like a structure, and sometimes it's a bridge just in another sense.
The Mount Carmel highway, stretching like a 24-mile slithering snake past trees and Navajo sandstone, was the rolled-out smooth rug that would eventually reveal the Zion Tunnel, a huge undertaking in the 1920s that would change forever how people would see our national parks.
They realized that what would be ideal is some way to be able to enter Zion Canyon from the south, which was the natural way to enter, but to also be able to exit it or to enter it from the east side, which would connect to what we call Highway 89 and then connect in a much more efficient way Zion National Park with the canyon at Bryce and with the Grand Canyon, which was at that time also a national park.
It was a local cowboy and rancher, John Winder, who pointed engineers to a Native American trail up Pine Creek Canyon that gave the project a pathway. So road and mining crews were hired. They went to work on the big project. Their numbers over 200 during peak times. They built wood scaffolding on precarious wall faces and ledges. They cleared the roadway, dug, drilled, and blasted into the rock. It was hard, dangerous work in a very pretty place.
It's just hard to imagine how they actually did that and pulled it off. And yes, there were
a couple of fatalities that occurred during that construction, which were tragic. And I think that, you know, everyone that worked on it really sacrificed and paid a price. But at the same time, it's interesting to think that maybe they enjoyed some of that scenic beauty that was part of it.
This old black and white film of the Zion Tunnel dedication shows it was a very big event. American flags and bunting draped from the chiseled rock. Everyone smartly dressed, excited, and marveling about the accomplishment way up there on the side of a beautiful mountain. Today it only takes a few minutes to drive through the Zion Tunnel. It's just a little more than a mile long. But going inside, well, that's like submerging into another world.
Well, here we go in the tunnel. It's kind of like an amusement park ride. It's a little bit scary, but it is exciting when you think about when this tunnel was engineered. Pretty fantastic.
Must be an awesome experience to go through that tunnel and then to have that canyon just open up out of pure darkness, open up to this amazing sight that truly is a world-class view. It must be, because 4.5 million people a year come to see it, and they're coming from every part of the world, literally every part of the world. And
tourists can no longer stop inside the tunnel to take pictures like they used to, or breathe in the angelic air of Zion Canyon way up there. But the ride inside still offers glimpses of splendor. You see every time someone passes a window, the open-air galleries, those unrefined blast holes that showcase the tunnel genius. Well, each one flickers like an old home movie, showing a very bold and powerful American idea out there. It was a shrewd publicity stunt and a real adventure. 5 University of Utah girls and another from Los Angeles, exploring the beauty and wonder of Zion National Park for 1 week as the first official tourists. This amazing true life story about Zion National Park might never have been brought forward from a century ago if Melissa Clark hadn't been snooping around the internet, where she saw 2 old scrapbooks, bought them, and waited for them to arrive.
When I started looking inside, I just got excited about the quality of the photos that were in there. They obviously weren't snapshots taken by amateur photographers. And the second scrapbook had newspaper articles that were that explained the photos, basically, about this trip that was taken in May of 1920 by a bunch of girls from the University of Utah.
The original scrapbooks don't look like much, but the story inside is remarkable. It's a chronicle of their week in the park, sponsored by the Union Pacific Railroad, park officials, and others, launching a one-of-a-kind tourist promotion of the heavenly park called Zion.
See America first. It was a big saying at the time, and you don't need to go to Europe to see wonders. You can stay at home, go to the national parks, and if these girls can wear pants and visit the parks, and they don't have to be backwoodsmen, they don't have to be outdoorsmen. This is something that is accessible to everybody. You know, if college girls can do it, so can everybody else.
The journey to the park started at the railroad station in Salt Lake City, then the automobile trek. Once they arrived at Zion National Park, real exploring got underway. Hiking trails deep into the canyon, traversing cliffs, finding their way to precarious ledges. There's even one girl in a rope swing sketching the beauty all around over a deep canyon. And it was all documented by a press agent for the railroad. Many newspapers picked up the story.
And here they were, all these college girls, not in dresses like they would typically wear. They're togged up in pants and hobnail boots, and the photographer had them climbing all over rocks, using ropes.
The 6 girls would all live full lives and have families. Nell would teach and coach basketball at Murray High School. Mildred taught speech, theology, and literature in Hawaii and Utah. Anna served a mission for her church and became a librarian. Dora, in her later years, watched extreme climbers navigate towering rock faces in Zion, where she once dangled from a rope. Melba loved music, became a publicity writer, and worked for several toy companies. Catherine went on to study music and dance and was a member of the Oakland Symphony Orchestra.
Little did they know when they opened that gate, opening the first tourist season for Zion National Park, what would come after them, the numbers of people who came after them. And I think they would be thrilled that so many people have been able to follow them and experience have the same experience that they did. I think it was something that they remembered for the rest of their lives.
Between that first visit by the University of Utah girls in 1920 and today, millions of tourists have discovered the omnipotent beauty of Zion National Park. But that single journey, rediscovered thanks to the handsome Clark book, Opening Zion, is special. It's a roadmap to America's national park story and the treasure waiting there for all of us.
You know, a bridge is a pretty darn good metaphor that says something about getting from wherever you are in life to wherever you're going. And this bridge is an excellent example of that. It's a real treasure and a journey to adventure no matter who crosses it. I'm James Nelson. We'll see you next time out here on Discovery Road.